In this tech assignment, we're going to work out the row operations to put your system of equations in reduced row echelon form. What you see in front of you is a document that's very similar to what you did on Tech Assignment 1, but it's for a different problem. You're going to be kind of reproducing these same steps in your Tech 1 assignment, so you can see what the solution to your particular problem is. Remember, this is a different problem. It's the one with the medication that we talked about earlier, but it's going to be the same kind of steps. So what you see down here are my two equations, x plus y equals 20 and 0.12x plus 0.08y equals 1.8. So I'm going to document the steps that I need in matrices. Now the problem with Google Docs is there's not a simple way to put in a matrix. So the way we're going to do it is using tables, and we're going to include text in this document to tell us exactly what we're doing in these tables. So first of all, I need to put this system into an augmented matrix. So let me type that. So put into augmented matrix. Now below this, I'm going to go ahead and insert my matrix. Now I'm going to need 2 rows and 3 columns for this particular system. So I'll go to Insert, Table. I'll do 2 by 3. All right, so let's see. The coefficients of the first equation go into this first row. So 1, 1, 20. And then the coefficient of the second equation goes into the second row, so 0.12, 0.08, and 1.8. So there we go. There's our first step. However, this table is way too large for this. So let me go ahead and go to the border of the table, and I can resize this a little bit. I'd also like to see these centered, so I'm going to click on this first cell, and while holding down the mouse button, I'm dragging, and then I'm going to go up and say center align. That looks pretty good. So let me scroll down a little bit. So when I take and put something into reduced row echelon form, I always start by putting a 1 in the first row, first column, and there's already a 1 here. And then after that, I use row operations to put a 0 below that 1. So the row operations I need in this case is I'm going to take negative 0.12 times row 1, and I'm going to add that to row 2, and I'm going to use a dash and an inequality sign to say that I'm going to put that result into row 2. Now I could go through and redo this entire table with that row operation, but what's easier to do is to go in here, select the table, copy it, and then go down below and paste. The nice thing about this is now I'm going to be able to only change what needs to be changed. Row 1's not going to change here, only row 2. So when I multiply negative 0.12 times the 1 and add it to 0.12, I get 0. When I take negative 0.12 times 1 and add it to 0.08, I get negative 0.04. And when I take negative 0.12 times 20 and add it to 1.8, that gives me negative 0.6. So I've now got that step done. So I'll move down a little bit, maybe take out a space up here. That looks better. All right, so once I've got the 1 and zeros below it, I go over, and now this particular entry needs to be a 1. So I need to multiply each one of the entries in this row by 1 over negative 0.04. Now that's going to require me to use a fraction, so now I'm going to create an equation with that. So I'm going to go up to Insert, Equation, And that puts a little spot for me to do an equation, and the fractions are located right here. So it's a little hard to see, but I'm going to type a 1. I'm using the right arrow key to move to the downstairs of the fraction, negative 0.04. So look at there, I just created a little equation with a fraction. All right, so that's going to be multiplied times row 2, and the result will be placed in row 2. Just like before, I'm going to create what I had before. I'm going to copy it, and then go down below and paste. The only thing I'm going to change now is this last row. And when I multiply by 1 over negative 0.04, the negative 0.04 becomes a 1, and the negative 0.6 becomes 15. The final step now is to use row operations to put a 0 in the first row, second column. So to do that, I'm going to have to take negative 1 times row 2, add it to row 1, put some spaces in there so it looks a little bit better, and I'm going to place that into row 1. Like I've done before, I'll go ahead and copy the previous step, and then paste that. And now go ahead and carry out the row operations. The only thing that's going to change here is row 1. So negative 1 times 0 added to 1 is 1. Negative 1 times 1 added to 1 is 0. That's what we needed. Negative 1 times 15 added to 20 is 5. And now with that, I can go ahead and read off the solution. So I'll type out here, the solution is, now I could type out x equals 5 here as text, but I'm going to do it as an equation. So I'm going to say insert equation, x equals 5, go outside of that, and do the same thing again, insert equation, y equals 15. That really wasn't necessary here, but I want to get a little bit of practice of putting in equations, because later on we may definitely need to use equations and not just text to type things out. So each one of you are going to do this in your shared document, and so I'll be able to go through that document and see how each one of you solved your system of equations. And I will be grading that shared document on the due date for Tech Assignment 2.